Are you thinking about moving to the northern Michigan area? The northern end of Michigan is where I have lived along with 5 generations of my family. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you a literal map of northern Michigan and breaking down for you everything you need to know about the parts of this great massive land so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. I hope you enjoy. Hey, I'm TJ Shimmick and I am a real estate agent here in northern Michigan. This channel is TJ's Guide to Moving to Northern Michigan. Please subscribe if you haven't. So if you're thinking about moving to northern Michigan, please reach out, give me a call. I know so much about the area. I've helped so many people relocate to this area, sell their homes in this area. There's so much special about this area that I'd love to share with you and see if it's the right fit for what you're looking for. So without further ado, let's jump into the map of northern Michigan. As you can see in this screenshot, this is the border between northern Michigan and Wisconsin. That border is on what we call the Upper Peninsula, which is a humongous mass connecting to the upper part of Mackinac City and mainland Michigan. So in this screenshot, you'll see a city called Cadillac. So once you've made it there, you're in what I call the beginning of northern Michigan. This is an extremely vast amount of land, but I'm going to cover as much as I can. So let's start in the Upper Peninsula, or the UP as we call it, and where it's just packed with vast amounts of national forest land. There's hundreds of thousands of acres, so everything in the UP is so much more spread out. If you're living in the UP, you're probably a college student or a prepper. One of the big attractions to the UP are the colleges that are there, from Northern Michigan University to Lake Superior State to in Houghton, there is Michigan Tech. So if you're living in those towns, you're probably a college student or a teacher, but outside of those towns, you're probably a prepper. So what do I mean by prepper? You know, those that want to be away from people, that are scared maybe the world's going to end. You need a bomb shelter and you need a really cold area to store all of your canned goods and everything that you've made for that day that we don't know if it's coming or not. All jokes aside, the UP is filled with amazing and beautiful wildlife. It boasts over 300 waterfalls. And really, there's just unlimited options when it comes to camping, hiking, snowmobiling, skiing. So as you can see on the map, the very east part of the Upper Peninsula actually connects to Canada. There's a Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And then as you head south to St. Ignace, that's your bottom tip of the Upper Peninsula, and you take that Mackinac Bridge right into Mackinac City. So coming down into St. Ignace, going across the Mackinac City, you will cross the Mackinac Bridge, which is the largest suspension bridge in the Western Hemisphere. Once you make it into Mackinac City, you can actually board many different ferries up to Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island is this town that sort of got frozen in time. There's no electric vehicles. It's horses, it's bikes, not even electric bikes are allowed. And it just takes you back in history. There's all this cool old school dining. The Grand Hotel is a huge feature on the island. If you like smoking a cigar, you go up to the cigar lounge there. There's fudge. There's different forts that used to protect Michigan back in the day. So there's so much to explore. There's golf. It's just a place that takes you back in time. It may seem pretty old school, but it's just a place of opulence that just offers a lot of different options. And there's quite a bit of luxury for those interested in that. Mackinac Island is a great place to know about when living in northern Michigan, but it's certainly not a place that you're going to live. And once you make it down into Mackinac City, it opens you up to the rest of mainland lower Michigan. So follow me down from Mackinac City along the coast of Lake Michigan to a city called Petoskey. So Petoskey and Charlevoix are going to be some of the more developed areas that we've seen so far here in northern Michigan. Here you're going to have more options when it comes to dining, actual bigger grocery stores to choose from than we saw up in Mackinac City and in the Upper Peninsula. One thing you need to know about northern Michigan is people really stay close to their roots. For example, if you're living in Petoskey, then your family's probably lived in Petoskey for a long time. The people in Petoskey are very welcoming and it's a super tight-knit community. The schools are great, but it also is a place and a tourist destination with a lot of good shops and dining. It's also super close to Walloon Lake and Lake Charlevoix. Another theme that you'll see throughout the video is there are lakes nearby all these towns because lake life in northern Michigan is huge. So as we head through Charlevoix and head further south along the coast, we're going to run into 2 great lakes, Torch Lake and Elk Lake, just to the south. Torch Lake is a highly sought after lake in our northern Michigan area. They have amazing sandbar where you'll find all kinds of activities going on in the summer. As you venture towards more like Elk Lake, which is near the town of Elk Rapids, that lake is going to be a little more laid back, not as much activity going on in the summertime. Another benefit of living on these lakes is anywhere you're at on the southern end, you're really about 15-20 minutes to Traverse City. If you want to make a day of it, pack up your friends, your pontoon, lots of good food here, and you can actually traverse through 14 different lakes on the chain of lakes in the Torch Lake area. And this takes us right into Traverse City, which is going to be your most urban development in the area. And here's where you can find your luxury condos, your lakefront properties on the big water like Lake Michigan or some of the smaller lakes in the area. We also have single, one-bed condos near downtown, or just a few minutes outside of town. You can find 2 5-acre parcels with a simple little ranch. People live in Traverse City for all different reasons, and it attracts people of all types. But most recently, there's been a big boom for a number of different industries. So ever since COVID, Traverse City, the secret got out. So people come here all summer long, and the population of the town grows immensely for all the things that it attracts to the area. It's also attracting some blue chip companies like Amazon just opened their hub here in Traverse City. So whether you're working for a tech company, a major big industry, the hospital, if you're a teacher, there are all kinds of options here for work in Northern Michigan. If you're in or near Traverse City proper, you're going to have a lot more options when it comes to many different things. We do have some of the bigger grocery stores in Northern Michigan, but none of the major chains that you'd think of like Whole Foods. But we have smaller brands like Oriana, which is a whole natural food market. Meijer is the biggest grocery chain on here. The smaller chain is Tom's. We also have Olson's. So a lot of family names that have had markets in the area that have kept their grocery stores around. As far as retail, you're going to have access to your department stores. We have a couple malls, Lowe's, the Home Depots, the bigger brands like that. So if you're living in or visiting or staying in a hotel in the heart of Traverse City, you have so many options when it comes to walking around to check out the retail. There's probably within 5 minutes, 30 different restaurants. You have wineries, distilleries. There are places to buy. You can rent a kayak and go on the river on the Boardman. Just so much to check out and explore. So Traverse City is also where you can find the plethora of car dealerships around. So if you live in the Northern Michigan area, chances are you're going to have to make the traverse to Traverse City to get one of those vehicles. So if you notice on the map, you see that little strip of land called Old Mission. That's between Leelanau County and the top of Traverse City. And this is called Old Mission Peninsula. This is where back in the day, all the old cherry orchards used to be. But over the last couple decades, it has turned into a major hub for a lot of people to live in and visit. There's a school district. There's a lot of notable restaurants like the Boathouse, Jolly Pumpkin, Bowers Harbor. And there's a ton of exclusive, beautiful homes along the water just because there's so much water frontage on that skinny peninsula. Typically, the most sought after homes are going to be closer to Traverse City. And as you get further up on Old Mission, that's where things become a little bit more spread out and you get a little bit more space between your neighbors. One of the things Old Mission is really known for are the wineries. There are 11 wineries currently on Old Mission, at least at this time of the recording, according to ChatGPT. Old Mission's a great place to visit when you're doing that winery tour, but it's also an exclusive place to live with lots of full-time residents. If you're looking for a little more space, a little more privacy, we're going to travel a little west into Leelanau and Benzie counties. When you get about 1 or 2 minutes west of downtown Traverse City, that's where truly Leelanau County starts, right where M72 and M22 meet. As you get into Leelanau County, it's going to have a little slower pace than Traverse City, but remember, Traverse City is only just a few minute drive back into town. As is a big attraction to most of the areas in Northern Michigan, Leelanau County is special in so many different ways. Every 15 minutes, you'll be in a different town with a different vibe. If you want a little bit more laid back, a little bit more high-end restaurants, higher end living, like in the Glen Arbor, the Leland area. But no matter where you are in Leelanau County, you have wineries, you have trails, you have beaches of all kinds. The restaurants go from your hole-in-the-wall bars all the way up, to your $100 plate dinners if you choose. There are no chain stores in Leelanau County, which is super cool. The lakes in Leelanau County are just so many. I'm fortunate to have been born and raised in Leelanau County on the south end of Lime Lake is where my grandpa developed a bunch of land. So you'll find us out there on the weekends. So you got Lime Lake, Little Traverse Lake. Lake Leelanau is a really cool lake that's tall and skinny, stretches from Lake Leelanau all the way up into Leland out to Lake Michigan. If you venture over to Glen Arbor, more on the west side of Leelanau County, you have two of the most highly sought after lakes in the area, in Little Glen Lake and Big Glen Lake, split by the Narrows. And just south of that, Empire, laid back, just had the Asparagus Festival last weekend. Every town has a little different feel, so you should check them out and explore them all. So as in most places, the certain towns demand a different amount of money to live there, right? Glen Arbor, for example, for $800,000, you might get a 3-bed, 2-bath ranch with 1,400 square feet. Down in Empire, just 8 minutes to the south, that same $800,000 will get you a really nice big home, maybe 3,000 square feet on a couple acres. Venture over to Sutton's Bay, where I just closed on a million house. That was a little outside of downtown, and that one was about 2,200 square feet. Now put that house on the water in any of these towns, we're talking 2 to 3 million, even pushing $4 million. Just to round things out in Leelanau County, the Sleeping Bear Dunes, you might have heard of it or seen it on your local news. It is a huge attraction, the #1 attraction to the west side of Leelanau County. Multiple field trips are there. Families are out there all day hiking the dunes. But be sure to bring your water and don't go down the backside of the dunes towards Lake Michigan, because that hike up, it's a very expensive one if you need help to get out of there. Now, to really round things out, if you go to the very tip of Leelanau County, you hit a really cool town called Northport. That's where the families that were born there raise their kids there. You got a school. There's a beautiful marina. It has its own grocery store. Tom's Market's up there. It has everything you need, but it also has all the cool shops. Bowling alley. There's a brewery up there that is really good. So that's a really cool town. It's just a little further to get there, so that's why it's not as populated as some of the other towns in Leelanau County. One of the cool things I like to do in Northport when everybody has left the area, in November, me and a buddy usually go up there and get a fishing charter and go perch fishing right out on Lake Michigan. Yes, I didn't know either that you can get perch out of Lake Michigan. I always thought it was all the inland lakes that those came out from. But also off of Northport, you can see across to Charlevoix. So that really rounds things out for Leelanau County. Now if we go further south of M72, let's venture into Benzie County. So as you can see, we're getting further away from Traverse City. So in Benzie County, you get a little bit more relaxed vibe. You get a little bit more affordable living. It's going to take you anywhere from a half hour all the way up to an hour to get back into Traverse City. But the best way to talk about Benzie County is really going to be, again, through its lakes. Big Platte Lake, Little Platte Lake. You have the Platte River that flows all the way out to Lake Michigan. Crystal Lake is going to be your biggest lake in the area, and then above Crystal Lake, you have a couple smaller lakes called Long Lake and Rush Lake. So let's talk about some of the different things that you expect when you go on the lakes here in Benzie County. Little Platte Lake, it doesn't get any deeper than 8 to 10 feet. It's not the lake where you want to take the sea-doos out or do anything other than really fish or kayak and just relax. Go right next door to its big sister or big brother, Big Platte Lake. That lake is more where you're going to have, all the water sports, the water skiing, the people on sea-doos, the bigger boat. And then if you want even more room to play and explore, venture over to Crystal Lake. That's the one that is most highly sought after in the area. If you want to explore the rivers in Benzie County, go down to the livery, grab a tube, grab a kayak, grab your friends, and grab a cooler. And make sure you go through those rivers. You can make it an all lazy day if you want. Again, you can float all the way out to Lake Michigan. So let's venture a little more east, a lot closer to Traverse City. You find a cute little town called Lake Ann. So Lake Ann has become another more sought after lake recently. Over the last 5 to 6 years, that town has had so much great happen in it. A brewery has opened up, Stone Oven Pizza you can order next door. They have a great little park. One of my favorite grocery stores and things in Lake Ann is Lake Ann Grocery. Literally, if they don't have it, you don't need it. They have sections for electrical, fishing. They have all of the beer and pop selection that you need. Little bit of grocery, little bit of snacks for the boat, liquor, everything that you really need in Lake Ann. And even though Lake Ann is technically in Benzie County, Lake Ann feels like it fits in with the other lakes in Grand Traverse County. So directly to the east of Lake Ann, you'll run into Long Lake and then Silver Lake, and directly south of those, you have Green Lake and Duck Lake. A quick fact about Green Lake and Duck Lake is the Interlochen Center for the Arts sits right between them. It's a favorite place to go to catch some of your favorite musicians all summer long. If you're looking to secure that piece of lakefront property, Green Lake and Duck Lake have a little bit of a lower barrier to entry as far as affordability. So you might want to check out those lakes if it is something you're looking for here in the area. So if you're thinking about moving to Northern Michigan, give me a call. I know this video was a mouthful, but there's so much to cover in Northern Michigan. And honestly, I only really just scratched the surface. So if you have any questions about anything about living here in Northern Michigan, please reach out. I'd love to answer any questions, have a conversation about all that there is to do. And by the way, I know I skipped over the whole east side of I-75. When you get on the east side of I-75, it's a lot more sparsely populated, but there is some great waterfronts to check out, and there's a lot more affordable living on that side of the state. If you have any questions about that side of Northern Michigan, please feel free to reach out as well. But anyways, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.